Hello everyone. A little while ago I was looking for a book that we could use in our house group, and I came across a gem of a book called Stop and Stare by Nick Fawcett. It's published by Kevin Mayhew Limited, and they very kindly gave me permission to read to you the poem that the book is based on, and also the 5 introductory sections in the book. So I'm going to read the poem to you now, and a précis of the first introduction. The poem is called Leisure by William Henry Davies. You may know it. What is this life if full of care we have no time to stand and stare? No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows? No time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. No time to see in broad daylight streams full of stars like skies at night. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet, how they can dance. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. Full of care, does that describe you? Strangely, if there's one malaise that could be said to characterise modern-day Western society, it's probably exactly this, as testified all too eloquently by the waiting lists of numerous GPs, psychiatrists, counsellors and other therapists. We seem to be burdened as never before by pressures, worries, fears, phobias, countless people being close to buckling under the strain of it all. Most, though, are understandably reluctant to admit it. After all, we in the West are the lucky ones, fortunate enough to have a standard of living that most of the world's population can only dream of. What right have we to feel troubled or careworn? Surely we should be thankful for our lot, greeting each day with celebration rather than anxiety, and rejoicing in our plenty. There's undeniably truth in such an argument, few of us having any idea what it means to suffer real hardship. Yet for all that, the prosperity and material comforts many of us enjoy have been bought at a price, the price of inner tranquility and contentment. However, consider further the nature of our cares, how best we should approach them. Some may be specific, such as the pandemic, for example, or broken relationships, bereavements, health worries, or financial insecurity. Others may be harder to pin down, ranging from a sense of insecurity to phobias and to depression. Others again, merely the weight of life's demands and responsibilities, a sense that there's always something to be done, a schedule to fulfill, a deadline to meet. More likely we find ourselves facing a combination of these, wrestling as it were on several fronts. So how do we respond to such troubles? A typical approach is to indulge in frantic activity, almost as though through keeping busy we can keep our cares at bay. Don't stop, we tell ourselves, or that problem will catch up with us and drag us down. Stay occupied, get our head down, and we'll somehow muddle through. For others, the response is very different. They feel paralysed by their worries, increasingly unable to face anything. So they turn in on themselves, retreating ever deeper into their lonely private world. Either way, cares build up until they exert an unremitting stranglehold, squeezing the joy out of life, until there seems little left worth living for. Fears and anxieties stealthily taking over each day until each day is lived until their shadow and all else is obscured. So what might we try? A possibility that may surprise you is suggested by the well-loved poem of Johnson Oatman, Count Your Blessings. That, of course, is an excellent advice in itself, for simply listing our reasons to be cheerful can go a long way in helping us to see past our problems. What about thinking along different lines of counting our cares? That too can be useful, not with a view to morbid introspection, but simply as a way of getting things into perspective. Objectively identifying our troubles can help us face them, for we see each then for what it is, rather than allowing them en masse to become a nebulous dark cloud that hangs menacingly over life. With our cares, however, we don't just need to count them one by one, we need to also tackle them one at a time. It's impossible to overstate how important that is. None of us can do everything at once, and the more we try to juggle, the more likely we are to make a hash of things. Don't try to put everything right in a day. Face our problems one by one and let that be enough. That's essentially what Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount. Do not fret about tomorrow, for tomorrow will take care of itself. Let the problems of one day be sufficient for themselves. That's in Matthew 6:34. And that's just one of many passages we could turn to that promise to help or hope for those wrestling under a weight of care, that remind us he cares about our welfare, shares our sorrows and bears our pain. Do we have more troubles today than in times of past? Perhaps no. We only have to pause and consider what people have endured across the years and what millions still endure to realise how fortunate we are in countless ways. But that's not to say life doesn't bring its trials, for of course it does. None of us are immune from sickness, suffering, trauma or tragedy, and some experience those more than others. Faith doesn't downplay such trials for a moment. Rather, it offers God's promise of strength and support, the assurance that whatever we're called to face, he will see us through it. But it calls us also to consider our cares in a new light, asking whether they're all real as they seem. Do not be anxious, saying, what will we eat, or what will we drink, or what will we wear? But seek first the kingdom and righteousness of God, and you shall be given all of these in addition. That's in Matthew 6:31 and 33. In other words, don't fret about what's unimportant, the trivia that we daily magnify out of all proportion. Don't get sucked into the rat race, the endless cycle of wanting ever more, of climbing the ladder, of keeping up with the Joneses. Focus on what truly satisfies, on what God daily provides, and many of our troubles will suddenly melt away. Take that thought with you into the coming week, and live each day in that perspective. For, as the poet rightly says, what is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. Amen.